Hi, this is John Solari. We're back here with the Method Actor Speaks, and we're back with Catherine Carlen, who's a lifetime member of the Actors Studio and a dear friend who I met many years ago doing the Charles Bronson movie, The Messenger of Death. I was very fortunate in that movie. I'm the only bad guy to live in a Bronson movie. So.
I don't know why he let you live. Really, I think.
Well, the original script I was supposed to die.
But he liked you, so he kept you alive.
He did like me, you know.
He did like you. I remember he liked you.
You know, I remember hearing that on the set, and unfortunately, it was later of his career.
Yeah.
But we were talking, one of the reasons why I do the show is because, and this is part two, and so that people get to know who you are, because we were talking about the difference. Years ago at casting, you could go in what they call generals,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
and you got to meet the casting directors.
That's right.
And and they would see who you are and get to know you, Catherine.
Yes, yeah. It's a different business today. Today's business is like we were saying. It's all takes place on the computer. The casting takes place on the computer. Actually, you don't even need to have a headshot anymore.
No,
really.
really.
Sometimes you'll go in and a director will want to see one, or whatever. But mostly, they just pull your picture off the internet. That's why, are you ready for this? I don't think you'll even believe this when I tell you. I have 42 photos of myself. My agent and managers work with 42 photos.
Really?
Now, why? Now, back in the day, they worked with 2.
Right.
Happy, sad. Happy, serious. That was it. 42. So one looks like a prisoner, one looks like a country lady, one looks like a high-class lady, one looks like... Do you get what I mean?
Yes.
There's 42 of them.
So you're giving really a reel of photos.
I am, because what happens is they submit, there's a thing called Actors Access, but that's
Right.
really the breakdown service, and when the actors have their section of it that they can use called the Actors Access, but the agents and managers use the breakdown service. So when they pull up and they're submitting and they're looking for a judge, right? My agent can look through those pictures, and if he only had a little happy picture, it wouldn't work. He's going to pick that picture where I have on my suit or my hair pulled back or, serious looking, if I'm supposed to be like tough or something. Let's say he's casting for blue collar mom.
Right.
That's not going to work. Like how I look right now is not a blue collar mom. So he's going to have that picture. Let's say he's got... So do you see what happens?
I think it's a great idea.
It's like 42 pictures I have. And I tell the actors that I, coached and I still coach, you've got to have that variety for them, because they really want to see, in my world, I'm not talking about names, if you're a name, if you're Frances Fisher, we mentioned her a minute ago, they know who Frances Fisher is.
Right.
They can decide if they want Frances to be in something like that, or
Frances Fisher alike.
or Leslie Ann Warren. They
Right.
know who Leslie Ann Warren is, so you don't have to have that for those people. Yeah. But someone like Catherine Carlen, who is not a name, but is an old character actress, can she do that? Absolutely. And you got to show it to them. And when you're a new actor, if you have that, it's going to help your representation get you out. Now, I have never had this good a representation as I do now. Now, why I say that is because they love me, and they get me, and they want to find the work for me. I'm with Media Artists Group, Drew.
I can't hear you with that.
Okay. I'm with Media Artists Group with Drew Elliott, and I'm with 3G Management with Gisela and Roger. These people are working with 42 photos. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Drew, he wrote something funny to me the other day. I don't know, it was something about, what did you submit for that? Because I need to know what he submitted. Because then he sends me what he submitted, so then I show up like that. I went up for something for a new HBO show that Mark Wahlberg is doing, and Stephen Levinson, and they had submitted a picture of me in a leopard dress, lots of cleavage, lots of big, hair and the whole thing. And when I got this, so I'm going to show up like that for them, because that's what the casting person has seen and has said, yes, I'll see her. Yeah. When I go there, John, Ellen was there. Ellen Gerstein. She was just in normal clothes. There was another lady who was like really kind of, serious little lady, kind of like a librarian. And then there I was, all for the same role. because there's the variety now. Oh, we could have her do it or that one do it because,
Right.
you know, and it was fascinating because, you know, I felt kind of like, oh, I'm the leopard crazy version of it. Or there's the, you know, the more typical idea of what it was. Anyway, so if I hadn't had that picture, I might not have gotten in for that. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of a different business now that's never happened before. You know, you know, when you say, I want people, you do the show because one of the reasons is to get people to know who you are. Well, when you're a character actress, you are everything.
Right.
I am everything. As a normal person, I'm just a creative individual that can morph into whatever it is that you want me to be, even a tree. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they don't know that out there.
I don't know if they know it or they don't know
What I'm saying,
it.
that when they look at this and they say, oh, she could be a tree, which is one of the exercises, a right wheel on the stagecoach.
Exactly. Or she could be a kitty cat.
Right.
Or she could be a snake. Or she could be, but you know, I think that the business moves so fast now, and television moves extremely fast. It's like this, you know, the call goes out, they got to have the people in the next day, and then they're going to shoot the next week. It's so fast that if you can be as specific as you can be with your look and it really work on those parts, that goes back to the studio,
Right.
to have that, you know, tool bag that you can really pull out all those different roles you could play. You know, that's really important to me.
It
Plus,
really
I
is.
see every movie made.
Do you? Good for you.
Every movie. My husband says that we have no money to eat, but I go to the movies. I love them.
Do you belong to the Directors Guild? You know,
I do.
Oh.
I do, and I can go there, but you know, it never works out in my time. I'm always going in the middle of the day, usually early, 11:30 in the morning. I see everything.
They have them films that I went to one of them. I saw Nebraska.
I love Nebraska.
Now,
And I saw June the other day. June is up for everything. So is Bruce. They're up for all those awards.
June, who played his wife.
Yes.
I want to talk about her for a minute because
Yes.
I saw the movie and I talked to him afterwards, and it was interesting because he was talking about when he first went to Actors Studio, Kazan and them wouldn't let him talk
Yes.
in a scene.
I heard you saying that in another show,
Yeah.
and I thought that was fascinating that they held him back. They knew what to do with him.
And his first scene was with Salome.
I know, and you know they did that to Lee did that with Leslie Ann Warren. He wouldn't let her do emotional scenes because she was so emotional. So he held back that. You know, he knew how to develop those actors.
Right,
He knew
yeah.
how to work with them and develop them. Whereas Uta Hagen, she just had us do whatever we wanted. You know what I mean? She also would pick what we would do.
It was all, those three methods all worked.
They were all, and also it was the method.
Right, your
Lee
method
was the
is your
method,
method.
and Uta Hagen was the method. I mean, what is the method?
But I want to get back to June. When I was
Oh.
watching the movie,
Mhm.
and there was a scene when he walks in to the, his mother and father's
Yes.
bedroom, and he says, "I was never allowed to be here, be in this room."
That's right.
And she was off on the side. You could hardly see her.
Yes.
But she did this thing with, you could tell she did this with her eyes, like she was surprised. She didn't know that. And I saw that, and I said, this woman now should be up for an Oscar. That's the work.
Yeah, because what is that work? That work is not about what the words are, right? It was her reaction to what was going on. So she was more involved in what was going on with him than what was going on with her. She
Right.
was reacting to what he was going through. I remember that scene very distinctly. And then let me tell you something. There's June at an audition the other day. I'm pretty sure I was up for a commercial, and so was she up for some other commercial in a casting room, sitting on the lineup with everybody else.
Yeah.
And I went, June, you're fabulous in that movie. I can't believe it. And inside of me, I'm thinking, I can't believe you're in the lineup. But honey, one day you're doing this, and the next day you're back
Yeah.
out there looking for a job.
Yeah.
Because that's the nature of what we do, you know? It's crazy to me. I thought
I'm
that
glad
was
you
so
picked
strange.
up on that, because I just thought it was just, I liked her work, in the movie, but that scene there to me was the most important.
Yes, because
It wasn't about her.
No, it was not about her. It was about her husband. Then we knew how she felt about that husband. Did she really love that husband? Because she was tough as nails to
That's
him, right?
right.
And then we saw that she really did care about him. Then you saw the love, and her reaction to what he was going
She
through
didn't, yes, she
made you understand what she felt. That's movie
And you
making.
knew that it was the first time she knew that, because she didn't know that.
And who knows how he shot that? I don't know him, so I don't know if he had 2 cameras, or if he had 1 camera. I
Well,
don't
she
know.
was off to the side,
He
so
could
it
have
was
had
almost
another
like,
camera covering her, but he could have
No,
waited
I
and
don't
done her
think so.
coverage. Or he could have had, but you know, there's a lot of coverage going on the movies.
yes, but I mean, that scene, I mean, that, it
I
was
don't know when
just,
she
just blew
did
me
it.
away.
I know. Well, those scenes do blow you away. I think that's what film's about. Film is not really about talking, right?
No, it's about
not.
listening.
It's about listening. It's about
But listening with the eyes.
yes. Well, we do listen with our eyes.
You know, and it's,
Don't
and I really, we were talking, and you know, about, I'd love to do scenes where you don't talk, because that's the hardest part. I think that's what most actors don't understand. They always believe they have to do something. I'm working right now on what's his name? Oh my God,
What?
Knapp's Last Tape by. Oh God.
What?
Next, what's his Beckett?
Oh, okay.
And you know, he really listens to the tape recorder.
You know what? I'm going to tell you something. Uta Hagen had a thing that she did in class 100 years ago. And what it was is that you would have, I forget what she called that exercise. But basically what happened, Paul McCrane was in my class. I had a great class. Blythe Danner came to our class.
Oh, yeah.
It was a great class. But anyway, I was in the park. I mean, I don't remember which exercise it was. And I was supposed to just be in the park. Now, when I am in a park, I see the grass, I see the trees, I see the ants, I see, you know, maybe I'm watching them do an anthill. I'm so involved in what's going on.
Right.
And she went, Catherine, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm watching this ant, and I explained what I was. She said, could you just do nothing? I went, well, I guess I could do nothing. She went, let's try that again. Yeah, I'm going to tell you something. She made me do that exercise for months because I could never not do anything, John. It's what you're talking about. And finally, she got me quiet. I think that's when finally when I learned the Lee Strasberg exercises of the relaxation. That's what relaxation's all about.
Right.
You know, and then, of course, I like the emotional memory, and I like the, you know what I mean? I like all that stuff, because then I can feel up a storm. But if I get still and just really listen and really be okay with what is going on inside of me, then I can start to take in the other person or whatever the event is that's going on. That takes a lot of, I don't know, patience, understanding, you know, I don't know what that is that, you know, because we are doing, you know, they say acting is doing.
Right.
You know, actually, you know, Meisner used to say acting is doing, not feeling. You know what I mean? Acting is doing. What are you doing? What are you doing? That's what his repetition exercises are all about.
Yeah.
Really, you know.
The great commercials now
yeah.
are doing that.
Neighborhood Playhouse. You know,
Yes.
that's where that whole thing about what are you doing? What are you doing to the other person? What's your task? And you had to have all this stuff going on. But now when I really have been doing this for a long time, I realize that if I can get quiet and really watch what the moment is, that happened in that movie, The Automatic 8. I had very little to say in this movie. I couldn't wait to go do it. My friends were like, why do you want to go do this movie so bad? You're barely in it. You don't say much. Oh, I love it. I mean, you know, Richard Schiff comes down the stairs, and then he comes to the table, and then he sits. I mean, all of those things. I just can't believe that I'm in this thing with these people doing. I don't know. I think acting has. I think it's a spiritual experience. Could it be?
Well, for you, it's, the love comes out of you. When I listen to your critique at the studio, I've always admired it because I know it's coming from a place of love. It's almost like when I remember the first scene I did in New York when I was working on Gary Gilmore, and it was a Friday in New York, and the second scene had canceled, so unbeknown to me. But I remember the first time there, it was the New York studio was all these old time actors and everything was there. But I remember looking in there and I thought to myself, no one here is here to hurt me.
Oh, that's good. Oh, that was a wonderful feeling.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful feeling. No one's here to hurt me. You felt safe to do
Yes.
the work. You felt in a safe place. That's taken me many years to get there.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm just, I don't know what it
How
took
do
me to
you
be safe.
rehearse for theater? Let's get back into that, because we're starting to get sentimental there.
Yeah, let's not get sentimental. We could start crying.
Right. I was getting, I'm going back to,
You're thinking of those
I'm going back
days,
to
back
those
in the
days
yeah.
in New York studio.
You know what? Let's talk about Three Views of the Same Object. That was a play I did last year with Alan Miller.
Alan Miller. What a great actor and director
and teacher.
And teacher.
Fantastic, Alan Miller. And we had long rehearsals. We had a wonderful director that we started out with, named David Anspaugh, who did, we did Hill Street Blues. He did Rudy. Remember that movie, Rudy?
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, so he's a great director.
Was he related to Susan Anspaugh? Is that the same name?
I don't know.
Anyway, go ahead.
Anyway, so he was our director, and he had never done theater. And all of those years, he'd done television, he'd done film. So we were at the Rogue Theater, so we started this rehearsal, and his process was so different than the way that these old pros were doing it. Because Alan was in, I was the youngest one there. So, you know, it had Kay Callan, Nancy Lynn Charles, you know, Nancy Lynn Charles, I think that, Angie Berg, all these great actors, and they were used to a certain way of rehearsing it, which is slower in the theater. You know, you don't have to know it yet.
Right,
you know?
yeah.
And my part was to be in, there were 3 storylines going on. It was very complicated, how I weaved in and out of this thing. Of course, I learned my part backwards and forwards before I showed up to rehearsal.
Do you do that? Yeah?
I do.
Okay.
But most people don't. Most people go to theatrical rehearsals, you know, for the theater. They're more like just feeling it out, checking it out, discovering, working. I like to know what I'm supposed to say so that I can discover in a different way. So that I can discover through props and through behavior and through, oh, you know what, maybe I should come through that door and then I'm not having to worry about my script going, what do I say there? You know, I like to be off book. That's just me.
I understand what you're saying, yeah.
So anyway, this went on for a while, and then there was theatrical differences, you know, and I don't know if that's the right word for it, whatever happened. And John Flynn became the director of the piece. They just had some artistic differences. That's a better word for it. The writer, Henry Murray, who's from the studio, and David Anspaugh. So that ended, and John Flynn took over right away. Now let me tell you about rehearsal then. We're talking rehearsal. We're talking hours, going over it, piecing it, taking it apart. Let's do this piece, let's do that piece, let's do that one again. And he said something to me that has changed me. This was last fall. So I did this. I rehearsed August, September. We rehearsed a long time. Then we did the show October, November, kind of, so a year ago now. Solari came. And Barbara Bain was there. Leslie, they were all seeing the show. it was like a before, what is it called? Previews.
Previews.
Yeah, so we were doing previews, and they loved me. They came over to me afterwards. Oh, Catherine, you were fabulous. Oh, Catherine. And John said, come here. And I went, oh dear, I could tell by his face he wasn't happy with me. And he said, you don't fool me. I went, what? You weren't listening. I went, I didn't listen? He went, you didn't listen at all. I went, he said, you were acting up a storm. Oh yeah, they all loved you. They all loved you. But you didn't listen. And I went, he was right. And I didn't even know it. I was so busy doing my thing, John. And my thing was funny and sad and all those things, but he was so right. From then on, I said, can we have another rehearsal? Can we rehearse it again? Absolutely. You know, he was not, you know, it was the most incredible lesson for me, because I wasn't really listening. I was sort of listening, kind of giving, you know.
Performing.
I was very busy. Performing by myself. And so I started listening, and the play became deeper and real, and each night was like a rehearsal. You know, because if you treat it like that, each time it's new. And I really got it. I got it. And so one of the first things I do since that moment, as I go, am I listening? I gotta really listen. And that's been a very big help for me, because I think that because I can do so many things like, emotional memory and I can do circumstances, and I can put a condition on myself, and I can do all these different things. The technique we have, sometimes I just like the technique and I just want to do my thing. You know what I mean?
I'm listening to you and I'm thinking to myself, why he said why you weren't listening, and I said, well, maybe it's because you know the lines and you're not interested in what's going on.
I didn't care what she had to say. I was too busy with myself. I was too busy. I was too busy crying. I was like so upset. And it's just like, it's like I wasn't really seeing how I was affecting her, seeing what happened if I did that, seeing if that changed. She didn't exist to me, and it was interesting that everybody else, the audience, so to speak, thought, oh my gosh, you were so wonderful. But the truth was, he knew he's a wonderful director. He's the artistic director over there at the Road Machine. And he really saw, when he called me on my stuff. And I think that when directors can do that, that's what we love directors, that when they get it, they
need
get
that.
it. And I needed it, and then I soared in that part.
What I appreciate is that you're telling this on camera. No, really, because actors need to hear that. You have to be able to accept. And when you were saying that, all I kept thinking, because I was listening to Angela Lansbury on talking about the reason I brought up rehearsal, they were asking her about it, and she says, I never go in knowing the lines, all the lines. She says, I have an idea so that I can listen, and I can learn, and I can find things. You seem to think that you can find things knowing the line. Mm-hmm. I understand that, it makes sense, but it also, to me, I just felt, when you know everything, then you're not really listening.
Well, I don't know anything. I just know what my character's going to say, but I don't know anything.
But you shouldn't know what your character's going to say.
I think so. I think
Really?
It takes the
burden off you, the work.
Yeah, maybe the mind.
The work.
Well, no, it takes my mind, the squirrel,
Really?
the little squirrel in my mind, thinking of the words. I don't have to think of the words. I get to think about, I wonder why he has corn on his coffee table.
But isn't that interesting to the audience? They don't know you're thinking that.
I know, but that's what I find interesting in rehearsals, is to see that. So I don't have the burden of going, what do I say now? And I have to go, you see what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, but it's...
So then I get to be in the moment more if I already know those. Everybody's different.
Yeah, obviously it works for you.
This is like, it works for me. But here's the thing, it's like being a painter. I mean, okay, so who's right, who's wrong? So, Monet painted a certain way.
Well, there is no right or wrong.
There's no right or wrong.
I'm not trying to say that.
Well, there's not even that. I don't think there's any, this is how you get there, this is how you don't. When you're a young actor, you have to find out what works for you.
Right.
How do you find that out? By trying it all. You have to do all of it. There's been times that I've gone into plays and didn't know a word. I did a play with Jack Heller. Oh my gosh. Jack and I just did a film. I cannot wait for you to see it. It's called The Gift. And Jack wrote it. Uh-huh. And Jonathan Lawrence, his fabulous director, shot it.
What's it about?
It's really about choices that we make in life that will affect us forever, and choices that are controversial choices. And it came out of an article that Jack had read in the newspaper, and then he just wanted to bring it to life, and da-da-da. So now we're on the festival run with the whole thing. But I was thinking about Jack, because he's been my director many times.
He's directing The Rainmaker.
Yes, great reviews for The Rainmaker. For a year it's been.
I had Tanya.
I know her well. So
I always thought she was a member.
I just love her.
Henry did wonders. There's big signs all over the Santa Monica bus. This is the last weekend.
I know. I want to do a play with her, actually. I actually play her mother. But anyway, so Jack, in rehearsals of the play, I tried a different way, like when you said, everything works for different. So I thought, I won't learn anything. Let me just do what that is. I won't learn anything. So I didn't learn anything. We did rehearsals, and I'm like, got my script, and it was fun. It was kind of like all the pressure was off of me. I didn't really know it. And then there was a point when Jack said, everybody off book. And I'm like, uh-oh. So then there's that pressure that happened. That's why I kind of like to be off book to begin with.
Yeah. You don't
Listen, I'm off book when I do auditions.
That's good. Well, yeah.
No people,
But
some people aren't. I am.
as a young actor, when you were saying, but what works for you? All that ever worked for me as a young actor before was just I read the lines and I did them, and whatever came out came out.
That's instincts.
Yeah, I was an instinct player, and Renata Manhart, who was my first acting coach, she says
Because
that
you're
you
in-
still need 35 cents to get on the subway.
Well, you're an interesting guy.
Right.
So when you picked up that material, whatever it was, and it came out, and you were doing something with it, whatever it was, to the other person, it was going to be interesting. I mean,
Right.
that's the truth. A lot of actors, that's what's going on right now. If you look at this, this, I don't know.
Well, especially European actors,
I love European actors.
I mean, because they look like the part. It's not, you have a teenager playing a police lieutenant, on a cop show today because they want that audience of, between 14 and 20.
Yeah.
So they put somebody that's 16 playing a police lieutenant who should be 50. You know what I'm saying?
Let's don't even go there.
Well,
I
it
mean,
is.
let's
American
don't even-
TV
let's don't
really
even start
sucks.
that. Let's
I
don't
mean, it
even
really
start
is.
what they're doing. They. I always love that one. They. Who are they?
But I still, as an actor, that's the way I work now. I still do. I just read it and do it. If I get stuck, then I'll go in. It seems when I start analyzing, it's like I've heard so many times. The more we learn as actors, the less we do.
Yeah, but don't you find that it's more fun when it's personal?
Well,
I think I think you are.
it is personal.
instinctively
Instincts
doing
is
it.
personal.
Yeah. So that's what I think you're doing. I don't think you're taking it apart. Sometimes you got to take things apart to figure out what they are, and other times you just you relate to it so deeply you don't even have to figure it out.
But sometimes you relate to things you don't even know you're relating to. My final audition was Frankie and Johnny,
Right.
and I did it with I think Salome told me to do it,
Right.
and I said I don't relate to this. She says it's you, do it.
Right.
So I listened to her and I just did it,
Mm-hmm.
and I never.
So that was your instincts coming out.
But it got me into the studio because
Yeah.
it was Mark Rydell, Sidney Powell, and Martin Landau were the judges that day.
Well, my audition was
Judy Baldwin
Judy Baldwin.
did it with me.
My audition was with John Deal. Do you know the actor?
Sure,
John
the
Deal?
director. He directs more.
No,
And
no, he's an actor. John Deal. He did
Yeah,
all
but
of.
he does a lot of directing too.
No, he doesn't.
Okay, then it must be a
It's a
joke.
different John. No, John is he's a character actor.
Right.
He did Miami Vice for many years. He did all the Jurassic Park
Right.
movies.
I thought he directed some of them
No,
too, because
he
I
doesn't
see his
direct.
name all the time in directing.
He's not a director. But no, his son is studying to be a director. He's the same age as my daughter. But anyway, he's in Nashville now. I love him. Anyway, he was one of my clients as an actor. I coached him. And I said, John, let's do this. I need a place to be. And he said, he didn't even know he was auditioning for the studio. He thought he was just helping me. And so I picked a play that he had just gotten off. He knows Sam Shepard very well. He's done a lot of his plays. And he had just gotten through doing Live the Mind. I said, that's perfect. You know it already. We'll do that. I'll play your wife, da-da-da. And we worked on it. But I worked on that because I wanted to be at the studio. Now, I'm not exaggerating, John. I worked on it for months. Every day. Now, what did I do? What does that mean? Did I say the words? No. I did private moments. I went and got green beans. I remember getting these green beans and sitting in my own private moment with the radio playing this country music and me getting the green beans. And I mean, I just became that woman. And I didn't take a bath for a week. I was very busy becoming this woman because, I said to myself, if I'm going to audition at that studio, I am not going to get rejected. I am going to do this work. I knew what the work was, so I'm going to have to do it. And I hadn't done it in a long time. I was too busy out there, making a living.
Well, you had one of the greatest lines. I mean, not a great line. One that I always remember when I think of Actors Studio and I think of you. And I remember when I got in, you said that's better than winning an Oscar.
Yeah.
I always remember you saying that.
It's true, because, to me, it's a sacred place. Now, remember, I think acting's a spiritual experience, so it's a sacred place, like you had said, where, you're safe and you can do the work. And I love hearing from everyone, but I also really like hearing from the moderators. I love hearing from Salome, what she has to say. I've taken privates with Salome before. I love Salome, and, you know, Mark